Veteran Salute is sponsored by the Devon James Injury Lawyers.
A Wellington veteran who survived arguably two of the most brutal battles of World War II says when he arrived back on U.S. soil, he felt lucky to be alive.
As Gwen Bevel and photojournalist Nicholas Kiefer show us, he says when he was drafted, there was no backing out. It was his duty to go.
Paul Ybarra says even preparing to sit down to talk with us about his experience caused him to have dreams about his time in World War II. He says more than 7 decades later, he's sharing that story of survival so his family will be able to share the sacrifices of the greatest generation for generations to come.
We were in a movie and it showed it on the screen, and everybody jumped out and went home and locking their doors, and it was just something unbelievable.
Paul Ybarra says that was the response in Wellington when word got out the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. He says he was so young at the time he never anticipated he would go overseas. Then he was drafted.
Scary, not knowing what we're going into.
He says soon the soldiers were knee-deep in water and they were storming the beaches of Normandy.
To think how I got through all of that. And yeah, it's pretty rough.
Ybarra says it was also the longest day ever where he remembers carrying his comrades.
And we had to climb over the hedgerows with some of the wounded to a road and then go back and patrol.
He says they lost so many men in their unit.
Like a miracle to me that I made it back.
He says after they liberated Paris, they headed to a German village.
It was an open field where we were going through. And that's where I got a bullet wound in my back.
But in no time, Ybarra was back on the front lines and was wounded again. He says German stragglers were dropping mortar shells.
One of them shells hit the tree top when I was going up and down. That shrapnel hit me in the leg.
For his wounds and heroic actions, Ybarra received 2 Purple Hearts and a Bronze Star.
I think really I deserved it. And I'm real proud of him.
The decorated soldier would then go back into action. He also fought in the Battle of the Bulge.
I feel like I've done something great for the country.
Following the last German offensive campaign of the war, Ybarra says his war buddy snapped this photo. The man with his back to the camera was a German prisoner. Ybarra says this was captured just before the greatest journey of all, home.
I can't believe that I went through all that and come back and talk about it.
Ybarra says he was shocked to see the German soldiers were just like them. He said they'd been made to believe the Germans were some kind of super soldiers. He says when he was face to face with the enemy, he realized they looked just like the guy who lived next door to him here in Kansas. Here for you, Gwen Bevel, KSN News 3.
Tonight, we salute Paul Ybarra for his service in the Army.
The Devon James Injury Lawyers here, and we have the honor of introducing our Veteran of the Week, and that's Sergeant Paul Ybarra, who's a member of the greatest generation and served in one of the United States' most important battles ever, and that was the D-Day invasion when they stormed the beaches of Normandy. On behalf of all of Kansas, Sergeant, thank you for your service.
And I thank Devon James for having me here in this wonderful ceremony.
Veteran Salute is sponsored by the Devon James Injury Lawyers.